Hey guys, welcome back to Sidewynders Shed. Still working on this 360 engine because we're going to have storms. I buttoned it all up again. And before I go any further, and was trying to, spin it over and look at the bottom end, this thing is heavy. And trying to do it by myself is a pain. But anyway, I figured what I'd do is I'd do a compression check and then a leak down check to see if I'm going to have to take the heads off. Well, unfortunately, I got 3 out of the 8 cylinders that are leaking down through the intake valves. It's coming right out the intake manifold, and so I'm gonna have to pull the heads off. I was trying to avoid that because I really didn't want to completely tear this particular engine down, but no big deal. And when you get a used engine, these are things you're gonna have to be prepared to do. Now, they said this engine was running, and I believe them, it probably was. I just don't know how well it was running. But before I go through all this trouble to put it in my truck, I wanted to go through it. No big deal. I got rings, bearings, oil pump, timing gear, or timing chain set. I got all that stuff coming to be here tomorrow. So I guess I'm gonna pull the heads off and we'll do a quote-unquote down and dirty rebuild. I'll hone the cylinders out, put some rings in, I'll pull the valves out, clean them up, and lap them back in and see if they'll seal. Like I said, I'm not going to do a whole lot of head work or go crazy with the thing. Unfortunately, that probably means I won't get this engine in the truck this week. Probably have to wait a little while to do it, or figure out some alternate transportation, because I figure it probably take me about 4 days to swap this engine out. But anyway, with that being said, I really do want to give a shout out to low mileage engines, and especially Wade. Now, although this engine needs some work, again, coming from a junkyard, nobody's touched it. They just pulled it out the vehicle and it was in running condition. So not Wade's fault. And I'll tell you what, Wade went through a lot of trouble to find me this engine. This particular engine is a 91 Dodge 360 rollercam engine from the factory. Now, they only made these engines for 3 years, the 360. The 360 rollercam was only made in 90, 91, and 92. The 318, I believe they came out a year or two earlier with the rollercams. Before that, before 90, they're all flat tappet. And I think the 360 came out somewhere around 71, 72, somewhere around there. So anyway, especially in my area in Virginia, these rollercam LA engines are real hard to get a hold of. They're really, really, really scarce. And when you do find them, oh my God, they're expensive. They are incredibly overpriced. They're out of my budget. But Wade took the time. I think he found like 12 engines for me scattered all over the United States. And to be honest with you, this one sounded about the best. Actually, no, it didn't. This was about the 4th best, but the other 3 above it were either out of my price range, or, yeah, according to him, talking to the people that were getting rid of them, they sounded a little sketchy. So this, I'll tell you, Wade's not going to screw you. He's going to help you out. And I'm going to put a link in the description in case anybody is looking for something rare or hard to find. He's your man to do it. And he stays with you. I mean, he still talks to me now. He's interested to see what kind of condition the engine was in. And again, Wade, sorry to disappoint you, but yeah, this thing needs a solid going through and some work. But anyway, I don't hold that against you, buddy. Would have been the same thing if I'd picked this up around here out of a junkyard. It's the same thing I'm expecting. I can't find one around here. Magnums are a dime a dozen, but the problem is I'd have to do one or two things to put a Magnum in that truck. I'd either have to completely change the computer and the wiring system on it, or I would have to buy a intake manifold that fits the Magnum, and unfortunately there's not a whole lot of options for that, and I don't know if I could get one for the standard throttle body fuel injection instead of the multi-port fuel injection. So I just looked around for one that I could find, and again, I can't say enough about Wade. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Again, in the description, and I'll even put it in the comments, a link, so if anybody needs anything, if they're looking for something hard to find, Wade's your man to do it. With that being said, too, the other person I would really like to thank as well is Lyle at Summit Racing. And now, ever since COVID and everything, parts have been hard to find. They still make parts for this thing, but nobody has them in stock. Nobody local, and when I asked when can you get them, wouldn't be until August. But I actually called up Summit Racing because on their website, unless you know exactly what you're talking about and what you want to do, they have so many options, so many things you can get, that it gets a little confusing. So unless you have something specific in mind, I suggest calling them. And all I'm doing, I'm not making this a race engine. I'm just trying to make it your everyday driver, just like it came from the factory. I'm not doing anything special to this engine. And mostly that's because of financial choice, not because of what I want to do, but financially. But anyway, Lyle was great, and he did best he could to make sure I didn't get any Chinesium parts. So as far as I know, everything on here is American, all the parts I'm getting. And I hope that's true. A few of the things he told me were in new old stock that he had access to, and we spent almost 3 hours going through everything I need, and this was for a small order. Everything I got is $308. Everything to completely refresh this engine. Now, if it was a complete rebuild, I'd be sending it off to the machine shop, and would be including cam bearings and all that stuff, and boring it out if necessary. But I'm just doing it down and dirty. I will hone the cylinders out. I'm not going to do a valve job, quote unquote. No grinding. Just going to clean up the valves and lap them in and see what the valve seats look like. That's the plan right now, without taking it apart really and seeing exactly what it is. But that's what I'm doing right now. Unfortunately, I don't make the mega bucks. I don't have a whole lot of money, so I do have to make a few compromises. And at the moment, even if this engine only lasts me 3 years after this down and dirty rebuild, that's about all I need. It's better than leaving the engine that's in the truck right now and letting that die and being stuck without transportation. So you got to do what you got to do. But anyway, that's an update right now. So what I'm going to do is off camera, and I'm sorry guys, but I'm alone and I'm fighting the weather and I'm fighting the time limit. And my hat's off to all these YouTubers that take the time to actually film everything they do, and they worry over the shots and everything. But these are also guys that are trying to do this as a business, so they have to do that in order to get the subscribers and everything. I'm kind of doing this as a hobby, and just to throw something out there, and for anyone that's interested, to show that, like I've said before, pretty much if an idiot like me can do this, you guys can do it too. So not a big deal, but like I said, this is more of a hobby for me, And I've been that route before. One of my hobbies is woodworking, and I actually did. I had a small business doing that. It was called Frugal Furniture, and it did pretty well. It really did. I built a lot of furniture, and it was all out of reclaimed wood and everything, and it took off. It was doing real good. The problem is, as a hobby, I really enjoyed doing it. As a business, it took all the fun out of it, and I was just grinding away at stuff. And then, of course, you know, you'll always have them one or two customers that you do exactly what they want, and then they say, well, that's not what I wanted. I just don't like dealing with that. So again, with this is just a hobby for me. And with that being said, though, I do appreciate everybody watching me. And yep, once I tear this thing down, get the heads off, we'll have another look at it, and then I'll flip it over and we'll check out the bearings and everything. And eventually, once I get this thing tore apart so it doesn't weigh 800 pounds, I will be moving it from outside to inside, because I don't want to leave the bare engine out here, even though it's covered and protected. I don't want to leave it out here, but it's a little too heavy right now for me to get it to the shed. Now, once I put it together in the shed and have to pull it out here, well, I'll cross that bridge when I get to it. We'll figure out how that's going to happen. And maybe for the comedic value, I'll even video taking it from out back through the grassy, muddy backyard out front here. But as for right now, before I pull this thing into the shed, I'm going to tear it apart, so I'm only dealing with something that's maybe 300-400 pounds instead of 8. All right, y'all, have a good day. You take care, and we'll see you in the next video.